Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast.
Welcome, friends, episode number 168 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. So when we're not sure where to start or what to do next, we often want to be more decisive. We want to move forward with a sense of authority, with focus, with certainty. Yet life feels like it is filled with these complications and these nuances. What if it doesn't work out how you think it will? Or what if you miss out on an important piece of information? Or what if you miss out on something amazing? So these are all the questions that come up when you were faced with indecision. So today's podcast on becoming more decisive is the first domino you need to help you make the hard decisions. So think about it this way. The art and science of decision making is one of the most valuable things you can develop. It is a decision making expertise that we are always looking for when we think about leadership, when we think about authority, when we think about the people we want to be around. And our life is shaped by all of the decisions that we make. Our judgments, our beliefs, and the lives that we live are all based on decisions about what we think is true, not true, what we want to try. And when you want to consider what actually makes a good decision or a bad decision, or how to make the right decision, these are binary choices. And so I want to alert you to that because life is not binary. And this is why I think it's more helpful to focus on becoming more decisive, more of a gradient than an on-off switch. And that is the ability to make decisions more accurately, more quickly. And the more decisions you make, the more you learn about yourself, the more you learn about situations that you're in and people. And we want to make more decisions because you want to get the most experience under your belt to continue to use as information. And the reason this is information is because decisions made in your mind are often where we get lost. This is where complaining comes into play. This is where moping or just commiserating or ruminating isn't the expert path for decision making. Those are things that just keep us in these loops. And when you think about the decision to start eating more healthy or moving your body, and then the day comes and you just don't do it, or the decision to reach out to that person and ask for help, in our mind, we've done that. But when it comes to the 10 minutes that you actually have that day to do it, you end up doing something else. That's why we need to focus on decisions in action. Decisions made in action are where all our lives get created. If you consider the last big decision that you made, it was probably the school you went to, maybe the person that you're with, the work that you've chosen. Those decisions were life altering. They had an imprint to you. They were not made in your mind only, they were made in real life. So every day you took action based on those decisions. Every day you actually faced the consequences of those decisions. It wasn't a pretend decision, it was real. And you'll often feel like that sense of like, whoa, I can't believe I just said that or did that or started doing this, because that's what it feels like. It's a real thing and it brings real emotions and feelings and thoughts into your body. And reality always wins. Instead of talking about it, you find out what it's actually like to start a business, to change careers, to take a trip, to hire a coach, to commit to a relationship or a person, to work out and eat healthier more consistently. And you find out exactly what goes wrong, what works, and what could be done differently. when you make decisions in real life. And you don't sit there wondering if you should. So you did it. And instead, you sit there wondering how you can enjoy it even more, how to become that person, how to continue down this path. What's next? So here's a practical exercise in decision making that you can do today. Write down 10 decisions that you want to make. You can do it right now. So start jotting it down, pick the lowest risk item, and practice becoming more decisive. Think about how long it would take for you to normally make a decision on all these items and ask yourself how you could do it in 10% of the time. It will feel uncomfortable. 10% is 1/10. So 10 minutes becomes 1 minute. So maybe this idea of, what do you want to eat? That's a decision. Maybe if you're taking 10 minutes looking around for something, figuring stuff out, instead, just decide in 1 minute what it's going to be and just make it work. That's an example. Do it on the lowest risk item because it's easier for you to get started and use that time limit and then evaluate. You'll find out what happened, what worked. Maybe it was fine. Maybe I could have taken 10 more seconds and found something else out. But it's not always about the time, it's about compressing it. It's like Murphy's Law that we expand to whatever time that we're given to do a task. So you will become more skilled at utilizing the time you have today to make decisions, and you'll be able to make bigger and bigger decisions. And because you're doing it more and more often, you become more accurate because you're always evaluate your decisions. And so I did this myself. That's how I ended up taking 4-week trips a year. I started off with 1 week, right? Multiple times, doing all that. And then you eventually start to figure out, well, what doesn't work about it? What does work about it? Why not this? Oh, it wasn't enough 1 week because by the time we got into a place, we never felt like we got to explore it. What would it be like to actually be able to do it longer? What about the costs? What would work or what doesn't? These things are great. I've thought about it, right? But it wasn't until it was said out loud and I felt it and I was like, this is something I want to do. And then I said it out loud, I shared it, and I then started doing it and then I made it happen and then we booked it, right? Then we started seeing what it would look like. Then we started changing it, figuring out what locations are better, what kind of places do we need, how do we make work and life and all the things kids work out even when we're gone. That's an example. It's how I changed careers, right? Trying different things. Oftentimes, many of you guys will be like, oh my gosh, it's the biggest thing in the world if I change my job. It's not. It really isn't. Many of you know this because you've changed your job multiple times, yet sometimes we get stuck in that thought loop of thinking this decision is so big when in reality it might not actually be. And oftentimes you have a reorg come and it'll just sweep you into a new job change that's pretty big and you just move with it. And then you realize, oh, I just make things work. So even knowing that, you can have a lighter sense of this game of life that we're playing, in which we get to kind of move all these pieces around. And decisions are how we move each piece around. It's how I recreated relationships, deepened them, how I made more money doing what I love and doing my work differently, how I became a person who wasn't just one thing or another thing but someone that's free from an identity. Why? Because when you make decisions over and over again, while seeing them come to fruition, you realize that you're only ever one thought away from becoming exactly what you desire. Because your thoughts, when they become decisions, become real life actions that change the course of your life. And so you learn things when you make a decision. You learn that you're biased in a certain direction when you make decisions. And it becomes easier to become more decisive because you know, here's my bias, here's what I'm naturally going to think, here's where I'm going to route instead to counteract that bias. It's the same thing when we think about interviewing skills or making judgments based on a certain amount of information. You might have to always play devil's advocate in the reverse direction. So if you tend to be someone who says yes to everything, you might have to say no first. If you're someone who constantly says no to everything, you might want to see what it looks like to be more open and say yes first, right? So you learn how to overcome these biases once you are aware that you have them. That comes through evaluation of decision making and looking at it like it's a skill and an art. You also learn how accurate you are in your skills of predicting outcomes. Sometimes we're not forced to do that. We're given so much time, we take it all, then we feel this sense of just not knowing how to make decisions more quickly. Or sometimes we can only make decisions under great stress because that's the only way that we've made decisions. And so when you learn from your decisions, you learn that you can expand your repertoire, that you can make decisions in little time, in a large amount of time, not take all the time, do it appropriately with the amount of information that's appropriate to the scale of the decision that you're making. Right. So you learn how to use more of what's available for you always. You're not just one kind of person who makes one kind of decisions all the time, and you learn how to use your intuition to help you decide and what your body feels like when you make decisions. Some people only make decisions based on intuition alone when they could use some outside information to incorporate. Other people use their intuition with outside information and incorporate all of that in. And so, what I'm offering to you is that it's not just that right and wrong, but there is an ability to save time and energy when you're making decisions that's not just about doing it quickly. Sometimes to save time and energy, you can also make a decision not to make a decision. This is a huge unlock for people. For example, you might be in a job and you're like, well, I know I'm figuring out what's next, but I'm here. I'm here right now for at least another year or two, and I'm going to make the most of it. That's a decision that saves you time and energy from resisting, well, I'm still looking for the next thing, so I don't want to just only think about my job today. That is a false narrative. You want to be able to say, no, I'm going to use some time and energy to make decisions about what I want next and be able to love where I'm at, be fully engaged, do the thing that I'm doing now with time, attention, and care. And instead of thinking, I'm only doing this for the future, I'm only doing what I'm doing here, decision making is one of those things where you can actually decide. It's almost like you have one part of your brain that's like, you're here right now and you'll keep being here. And then you'll have another part of your brain that is able to make space and time for the future. You're always able to do both. And so you can wait to also be done with something to decide. So you can say to yourself, I know that I don't know, but I know that I will know. So now I don't know. But by the end, I will know. But even then, I can still make a lot of moves and parallel path this. So when I get to that point where I'm at the end of the work I'm doing, the decisions that I've already made right now, I'll have more information and incorporate that into my decision. But I know that at that point, I will make a decision, but I'll still move forward in the process until then. But if you do it, you must actually decide that at that point, you're going to decide. Because if you don't, and you think, well, I need even more information, that starts to become this analysis paralysis. So just be watchful of what comes up when you keep pushing decisions down the pipeline or shoving it under the rug and they keep appearing back out. This is where years and years go by or days go by without any real movement towards the thing that you've been thinking of doing for a long time. I'm not talking about the random whim that comes up and you're like, let's just wait on that and see what happens. I'm talking about I've been thinking about this for years and years and years, and that thought doesn't go away. We need to answer our questions, not just put them back, right, under wraps. So you may, when you're thinking about saving time and energy, decide that you are going to know who you are and that you're not just going to do something different to be different, but to just get yourself out of autopilot. You don't always have to do something drastic. I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to make decisions and be more decisive. And it means that I'm just going to rip off all these band-aids and do all these things that I've been thinking of. I'm not advocating for that. I'm advocating for the decision that is about you knowing you and you knowing what you need to start to unwind your own patterns of thinking, the way you always behave, the way you always react. So sometimes your decisions are going to be to stick to the plan, to come back to what you originally said that you would do and your commitment. For example, relationships. Those are one of the things that you can decide I'm going to commit to, and it benefits me to not change the course of my decision, but to still keep going. And that's an example of where a recommitment to a decision can help. Obviously, this is assuming that the relationship has solid foundation. Yet, this is also a bias. Perhaps you're someone who always commits and sticks to plans. Your decision on a low risk thing might be to break your plan, to deviate from the norm. And this is what becoming decisive will actually help you understand. It's not just about taking no time to make decisions, about becoming more rational and neutral in your approach to your decision making, to not judge so quickly, but to actually understand what you're leaning towards and why, and to take actions consciously. And when you start to do this more and more, you'll learn what this feeling of neutrality feels like. And these are when some of your best decisions will come from. You're not like super over the moon excited. You're not super upset or in a crazy sense of urgency. That's when you've overcome your own biases. When you don't always do what you've always done, but you do what's most helpful for you right here, right now, in this moment. So you're in that place of neutrality much more easily able to get yourself unstuck because you're out of the thought loop that is rumination and the spiral, right? That gets you into more anxious and depressed states. And you pause that just enough to remember what it feels like to be at neutral. And when you're more neutral, it actually allows you to become a better leader in your personal life and in your work life and in the communities or the organizations that you're a part of. Because it's easy for you then to come back to this neutral place. It doesn't require these huge emotions of stress or anxiety or excitement for you to be more decisive. All right. So to summarize all this, you want to take practical action, do something today that actually develop that decision-making muscle to understand all those decision-making heuristics that you might have, which are your own biases. And if you can actually take action on decisions with the lowest risk items first, evaluate them, and then repeat. You'll keep making decisions. You'll keep learning so much more about yourself. Your life will become so much more simple, and you'll have so much more energy for the inevitable hard decisions that you're going to deal with when you become more decisive on the simpler and easy things. So keep me posted on how this practice goes. And if you want help learning how to increase your decision making speed and accuracy to make cleaner decisions, to manage your time and energy more efficiently so that you can make space to figure out what is next and what you want to do with the rest of your life, you'll want to reach out for a coaching consultation at www.mayemson.com/contact. We'll also be diving into what it feels like to be in a neutral state, to learn how to unhook ourselves from external validation and heal ourselves from maybe some of the past programming at our next live retreat, which is in August. So again, reach out at www.mayepson.com/contact to learn more. And I'll see you then. All right. Have a good week. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemson.com. You'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.